Hello and welcome to another episode of the Chrissie Mayr podcast. We are on iTunes, YouTube, Spotify, and SoundCloud. And if you're listening to us on iTunes right now, pretty please leave me a 5-star review. That's all I want for Christmas. Well, Christmas is over, but I want it for January. Um, yeah, very exciting. The album recording went great. Thank you for everybody who came to Governors in Levittown last Thursday. I really appreciate it. It was an amazing experience. Everyone at that club is amazing. So if you're ever in Long Island, you have to go to Governors in Levittown. They were just amazing. Very happy to have Gino Bisconti host the album recording. Anthony Cumia did a spot. My buddy Andrew Harms did a spot. And my other buddy, Aaron Berg, is going to be producing my album. So as soon as I have details about when and where you can do a pre-order, I'll let you know. I'll let you know as soon as I do. So yes, but very exciting. And I've got a bunch more dates coming up. I'm going to be in Danbury, Connecticut this Thursday at a restaurant called Barbary's Grill. I'll be headlining there this Thursday in Danbury. Come on out. And then I'm heading to Savannah, Georgia in March. I think that's going to be on the 19th, and then Tampa, Florida on March 20th. But I'm going to be doing a few more dates in between there. Also, check out my hot sauce. I have collaborated with Silk City Hot Sauce to bring you guys Nightmare. I love a pun, but I also love a flavorful hot sauce. Check it out. Go to levinskystopshelf.com. And if you use promo code CMP, I get credit for it and you save a couple of bucks. I think these are like $10 to start with, but they're very good. So if you're a hot sauce fanatic, you better get yourself a bottle of Nightmare. Also, I have shirts for sale on tpublic.com. I love this one because it's fun and patriotic. It says "Make America Great Again." Comes in every color, every size, even if you're a big boy. And I also have this great Mayor shirt. Reminds us of the amazing Obama era. And my last name is Mayer. So yeah, check it out, tpublic.com. All right. I'm very excited to have this guy on. Oh, I was going to do that later. Okay, I'm going to do it now. I'm just squabbling with my producer. I have another new sponsor that I'm very excited to talk about because it's something that I've always wondered about, and I've always been sort of clueless about crypto, honestly. Okay, let me go to this here. We've all seen so many people make ridiculous money from crypto. Like it's all I've been hearing about for the last couple of years, and I get jealous, and then I go, oh, whatever, that's not for me. But I'm getting to the point where I can't ignore it, and I have to start dabbling more in crypto. So the Copy My Crypto membership site shows you the exact cryptos of this YouTuber named James McMahon. It'll show you exactly what he holds, and it will allow you to copy him. Just copy everything that he holds, just like it's yours, just like it's your account. It's like having a big brother who knows what he's doing. You don't need to know a thing about crypto like me or how to invest. You simply just do what he does. So let me tell you more about James. James runs the Crypto with James YouTube channel, which despite heavy censorship has over 15,000 subscribers and 1 million views. Since March of 2020, he's told his viewers to buy 26 crypto coins. Had you put $100 into each one, it would now be worth over 66 grand. Of the 26 coins, his top pick of the year, a coin called Phantom, is currently up around 440 times from when he said. I feel like this guy. Why didn't I find this guy earlier? That one call alone has retired a number of people, including guys and girls in their 20s and 30s. Remember, this is all public knowledge. You can go to YouTube and verify this yourself. So if you'd like to join the 1,300 members who copy James, then stop what you're doing right now and head, after this podcast, of course, head on over to copymycrypto.com/mayor. That's spelled Mayr. You'll not only find proof of everything I've said, but my listeners, you guys get full access for just $1. You won't find this offer anywhere else. Act fast because this is a special New Year offer and will expire soon. That's copymycrypto.com/MAYR. Don't take this offer lightly. He is the real deal. Go visit the site now or later. That sounds good. That's my resolution for this year, learning more about crypto. But not before I bring in this guest. I'm so excited to have him on today because I always am excited to talk to a fellow comedian because it just feels like, when you've been to war or prison, it's just somebody who understands the same things as you. So I'm so excited to have him on today. He's probably the best uh, Trump impersonator out there right now. He's also a comedian, and he is going to be performing at the very famous Comedy Cellar this Sunday at 11 p.m. At their Fat Black Pussycat Room. Welcome to the show, Bob DiBuono.
Hey, how are you?
Hey, I'm so excited to see you again.
I know, it's great. Thanks for having me on.
I'm so glad you can do it. The last time I saw you, I was doing a show of yours in Jersey at Scotty's Comedy Cove, which is a room I really love, and it's really great for comedy because the
Yeah,
ceilings are so low.
yes.
Um, and you can really it's hard to explain to people who aren't comedians, like, they think you can just do comedy anywhere, and you can't. I know a lot over the years, I've produced shows, I've done other people's produced shows, and it just makes a real difference when you're in a room that makes for, that has good comedy attributes like a low ceiling, maybe some carpeting, it kind of holds all the laughs in.
Yes, agreed. I've been doing that club for like 15 years, and that's why we brought the show there because we had this show, Character Flawed, that we've been doing for it's in its 22nd year.
What? 22
That
years?
yeah, so that show that you did, that started the genesis of it was at Stand Up New York Comedy Club when I was like 2 years in doing stand up, and I was just trying to get
Wow.
stage time, and I remember the general manager there was like, "Oh, why don't you just, they want everyone to do their own show because during the week they were dead. And they're like, "Oh, create, do your own show and promote it." So I was like, "That's great." And then like the first show, I remember putting on all the comedians that I loved, like Rich Voss and Norton and David Tell and I don't know, whoever it was, just like the hot, Ted Alexandro. And these were all the comedians I looked up to. And then we did the first show and there's like three people in the audience and we're like, oh,
Oh, no. Oh, that's the
yeah.
worst feeling, because especially when you're delivering a quality show.
Yes. And then the show, like it blew up. Like we went from like literally the whole idea of the show was
It's a
like,
monthly, right?
what's that? It
It's a
is monthly,
monthly?
yeah. And it was a show that was literally once a month, and then in the city, it grew up to 7 to 8 shows a month. And
Whoa.
Dangerfields was the residency of it until COVID, and then it shut down. And so we decided to move it to Jersey. We do it once a month now, but we're building it um, to see how many more shows we can do. And I'm not always there; like I'm on the road a lot. But we have a really good team of people that work on the show. And what's different about it, it's not a they have these bringer shows that are usually that we've all done when we were new, and they're horrible because you go out to a show and there's like 15 amateurs on the show, and the show is just, your friends would leave and go, "Oh dude, man, like I cannot I love you, I can't sit through that shit again."
Oh, no.
you know
How
you
long
remember those days? It was
what year
horrible.
did you start comedy?
I want to say like maybe 2000. I think I started,
I
but I
started
had
in
a full time.
2010.
What's
Yeah.
that?
I started in 2010,
Oh, you did. Okay.
so it does feel like a lifetime ago.
It's weird. Like it feels like, doesn't it feel like you've been doing it forever, but also in some ways, like I feel like I'm still a new comic.
Yes, because you feel like you're learning, you should be learning,
Yes.
stuff all the time, and I feel like, especially the last few years, I've really clicked things up a notch, and I'm at the point where it's like, "Oh, I thought I was working hard 8
Yeah.
years ago? No.
Yeah.
No, I wasn't doing shit." Like, I wasn't really even working until maybe, like, 2018.
Yeah, well, it's also too, it's like when you're new and you're starting out, you really don't, I always tell people this when they ask me. I'm sure a lot of your friends that don't work in comedy, they have no clue what we do. We're like superheroes. Like we're up all night. These people have regular jobs, where they're up at like 7, they get home at 5. They don't even understand the world that we live in. I have friends that like they're like they don't even get it. Like they're like, I don't They talk to me like I'm a crack addict. They're like, "Dude, do you need a place to stay?" Or
Yeah, because it's a
like,
very unhealthy lifestyle being a comedian. It's like it all happens at night. You're
yeah,
drinking coffee all night, stay awake. Oh, it's like
yeah,
a lot of us are getting drunk most nights. A lot of
yeah.
us are hooking up with each other, which we're not supposed to do, but it happens
Yeah,
because it's
well, you
just
never
who
hooked
you're
up with a
around.
busboy like I did,
A
so,
busboy?
yeah, we won't get into that, but
Okay.
it was probably the low point of my career.
It's okay. Yeah, and it's I have until like, very recently, I've been in both worlds, like, I've been in 9 to 5, and then you go straight to doing comedy, going out doing spots,
Yeah,
so
yeah,
it's so exhausting, and,
yeah.
but I think it does help to be part of, like, the sort of office world, and then you can kind of make jokes about that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and also I like to, that's where the world I came from. I was working at Clear Channel as a sales rep, and I used to sell the billboards in Times Square. And I was doing that full time because I had an advertising background. And then comedy was like 3 or 4 days a week at like bar shows. That was like
oh,
the first
okay.
7 years. And then
That's
when I went,
solid.
and then when I went full time, I think that if you worked, like you said, you worked kind of like in the corporate world.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
So you carry that business acumen with you into comedy, and I think that's why you're seeing such an uptick now in your career because you know how to go, "Oh, I'm gonna create a podcast, or I'm gonna create a show, or I'm gonna start selling merch." Like a lot of comedians when they're new, or they just never learned it. They don't know how to
No
create
one
stuff.
tells you
No,
any of this stuff.
no,
They
no.
just say, "Get as much stage time as you can and
Yes.
find your voice," and then for years, you're like, "What the fuck does find your voice
Right, I'm
mean?"
still looking for my voice. I think my voice is a young Hispanic boy.
I think mine is like, yeah, like a 45-year-old spinster. I think that's what I'm working towards. That's gonna be my vibe. Yeah, but nobody gives you the
No.
like, unless you seek it out and you pay somebody and sit help, they have I know, like, Joe DeVito helps people write jokes but nobody's gonna just offer help unless you get very lucky and someone takes a
Yeah.
liking to you.
Even like having a podcast, like no one, they're like, "Well, how do you do that?" Like I mean, buying the equipment and setting everything up and learning how to become like a radio voice. Like that's all like there's a lot of technique involved in that. Like everyone thinks they can do radio. Just like everyone thinks they can sing karaoke. And it's like there's no school we go to, there's no classes. I suppose you can take classes, but comedy is kind of like and that's what the world we live in. There is no direct path to success. It's kind of like we navigate our own path through, the shrubs and we just have to create it. There is like in corporate, it's like, oh, I'm going to do this job. And then in 2 years, I get promoted. Then I become a senior coordinator. And then after that, I'm a VP coordinator.
Oh my god. I've never been promoted at any job I've ever been at. I think that maybe goes to show you, like,
What
how
was your
good I was.
job?
Oh god, Bob, I've literally done everything from, like, be a lifeguard and a diving coach, which those jobs I loved, to my, like, the jobs I had during my, like, I think I'm gonna be in advertising. I, like, worked for the Elleron Murphy Group. They might not even be a company anymore, and I was an ad proofreader for the ads that would go, I think in the playbooks maybe, and,
Yes.
learning all about hot feet and cats and, like, I couldn't care less, but I just thought, "Oh, I need a job in media. This is gonna be fun." But it was actually, like, the job of someone who had to be extremely detail oriented,
Yes.
but the first thing I did was, like, decorate my desk and, like, get a lot of
Yeah.
flair and lights, and I brought my, like, Napoleon Dynamite doll on my desk,
Yeah.
and then I just kept messing up, and I got fired, like, maybe 5 or 6 times, like, and each time I would wait longer and longer before I broke down in tears, like, I would consider it achievement, like, "Oh, this time I got fired, I didn't cry till I got to the elevator. Oh, this
Yeah.
time I
Yeah.
didn't cry till I got on the subway." But I learned an important lesson of, like, never have more at your desk than you can take home, like, in one day,
Right. Yeah.
you know?
Well, as comedians, we're unique animals because we really don't. People always go, "Why did you become a comedian?" And I go, "Because that's all that was left."
Mhm.
It's like comedy finds us. We don't find it.
No, it's like a disease. It's like getting AIDS. No, in fact, it's
Right.
worse than AIDS because,
Yeah.
like, Everyone knows what they have
I
to do to
think
get
most
AIDS.
people that have AIDS want to be comedians.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly.
It's like you get bit. You get bit with something. It's like the
I
bug.
think comedy people will be like, "Well, I'm funny. I could be a comedian." It's like, but you don't. Comedians, real comedians, don't want to just be funny. We have to be funny. It's one thing to be like, "Oh, I want to go out and I want to get laughs and I want to stand in front of an audience," but real comedians that have the bug, it's not that you want to do comedy; you have to
You
do comedy.
have to.
And
Yeah.
and that's why when you tell your friends and they're like in the corporate world, wait, you went out last night and you went to a dive bar for $25 to talk to a bunch of drunk people? Why would you do that? I mean, that's what I get that narrative all the time.
Oh, yeah.
And it's like
It's a
tonight I'm
real
going out. Yeah, I'm sick. I'm going to Broadway tonight to do a spot because I have headlining dates coming up and we have to constantly,
you gotta work it out.
fine tune what we do.
Yeah. Bob, you're sick though. Are you sick with the sickness?
I I hope so. Because I'm going to a place where a lot of the people I don't like them.
Oh, good. Yeah, just spit in
So
everybody's mouth. Yeah, isn't that what's
yeah,
that's the worst thing about this is you can't just have a cough or a sneeze anymore.
no. Well, we were talking about that before we came on,
Stick
which
shaming.
is everyone out there listening, there is this unbelievable, and that's what it is. It's like sick shaming. It's if you, first of all, if you get it, you're considered immediately they think you're irresponsible. Like, oh,
Oh, yeah.
what were you doing? Where were you hanging out?
Yeah.
Who were you with?
What
Um,
did you do?
until all of these celebrities got it that they like, like Whoopi Goldberg, and then it's like, oh my,
AOC.
right,
Yeah.
oh my God, they got it. It's like, yeah, everyone can get it, and but like I have a sister who's like very, very liberal, and her husband, they're up in
Ugh,
Massachusetts.
so sorry.
So anything I say, like I'm like if I tell her like I'm sick, it would be like if I'm just like, oh, I have a cold. Oh my God. Oh my God, you really need to go get the test, Bob. You got to get the test. You have to see if you have it. Like, okay, if I have it,
What the fuck difference does it make? Yeah.
right, it's going to go away, hopefully. I mean, unless I'm on a ventilator, but I could be like, I could say anything like, oh my God, I forgot to pay my cable bill. Oh my God, you think you have Omicron? But you forgot. That's a side effect. You forget
Yeah.
because your
Yeah.
head. So I tell people like, look, I don't care what people do. It's your own body. It's your own health. You want to wear a seatbelt, wear a seatbelt. You want to ride on a motorcycle with no helmet. I don't care. Like, do whatever you want. It's gotten so politicized, and no matter what circle you're in, you always end up feeling like you have to defend yourself.
Yeah. Yeah,
It's
'cause that's what they've made that's what they've created, and, it's weird, like, at the end of the day, I still feel like unvaccinated people get the brunt of the shaming, because it's just so
yeah,
ingrained into
yeah.
everybody's minds.
Well, everything's a label now. So like it's like, oh, if you don't take the vaccination, then you're a Trumper. It's like, no, like for me, I didn't want to take
He's
the
the one who did Warp Speed, like, it's so
right.
strange. He's was
Yeah,
and still is all about it.
right. He's the one who put all the pressure on these companies to get it out within 7 or 8 months. And he gets no credit for that because people they hate him so much they don't even want to give him credit where credit's due. And I feel like if you're really going to call balls and strikes, you can still love somebody and find weakness, and you can hate someone and find strength.
Of course.
And we're living in a society now where you have to, it's like Coke or Pepsi, pick a side, you got to be dug in. And I get the brunt of it because doing Trump, like I've done every continuum of events doing Trump. So I mean, I don't like, the first thing I did was Comedy Central and then Jimmy Kimmel, Murphy Brown, The View, so liberal. And then,
All right. And those
and
were your
then
first appearances as Trump. Like, when did you know you had a good Trump?
And it's terrible because the one day you have me on, I'm like, really? I have a cold. Like,
Oh,
now,
no, I'm
now
not
I'm gonna
gonna pimp
freaking
you
do
into
it. You're gonna
doing
be like,
it.
dude, you suck.
I would never force you into an impression on the
No,
spot.
but when I started doing it, I wanted to get, I do a lot of impressions in my stand up for those that are out there listening, and that one I wanted to get on like SNL at one point. That was always like a thing. before it became so liberal. Now at the point now I'm like, I really would not want to be on it. And if I was, I'd be like, I'd have to okay the script that I'm going to do
You'd have to be gay
because
and trans for them to even take a look at you.
you have to. You
Yeah.
remember the bus boy? That was the reason.
Yeah.
I was like, I got to
I'm
have
gonna
something on my resume.
there you go.
So yeah, I literally worked on the voice for like everyone's like, you got to do Trump, you got to do Trump, and I remember like I'd go on Race Wars with Kurt Metzger, and
Oh,
they were like, you
Sherrod,
got
yeah.
Trump yet? Because that's the hot one to do.
Mhm.
And so like for 4 months, I was like, oh, I got to get it down, and I couldn't get it, and people that do impressions, it's really just it's a sound, it's a register that you have to find with your voice, and some are easier than others. Sometimes you can't just do it because your voice just can't go there.
Hmm.
And after like 4 months, I got it down, and then I pitched it to Rory Albanese, who was the showrunner for the nightly show with Larry Wilmore. And within like 2 weeks, I was in the writer's room doing Trump in makeup, and then that night on the show for a live audience.
Oh, that's so exciting.
Crazy, right? And then it like a signed contract with Comedy Central to be the Trump on the show for the next 7 months. And
Oh, wow.
I was like,
On the Larry Whitmore show?
yeah, Larry Wilmore. Yeah,
Oh,
it was the
Wilmore, yeah.
nightly show with Larry Wilmore. And the thing is that like all the TV stuff I've done is very, very liberal because most of TV is liberal. And then, but yet, like a week later, after doing something like that, I was at the Georgia Boat Parade, or I was at the Lincoln Freedom Gala doing an event with Candace Owens, or doing something with Corey Lewandowski in Michigan. So I think I'm the only guy out there that does Trump that just plays Trump as Trump. I don't bash him because I actually enjoy doing the character, and I let people take it for what it is. If you love him, you're going to go, that's my guy. If you don't like him, you're going to go, oh my God, that's exactly what he'd say. Oh my God, I can't listen. And that's the way I like to do it. It's like you make your own mind up. It doesn't matter what my politics are.
I can't imagine hating Trump so much and then choosing to listen to Trump impersonations. Like, it's like you want to be reminded of it over and over. It's like it's just such a strange thing to me.
I've had people get triggered like I did Mika and Joe Scarborough's engagement party. I mean,
Who's that? Who are they?
so they're
Oh,
on
Joe
CNB.
Scarborough he's a reporter, right?
He's got his own show. It's I forgot, Morning Joe on
Okay.
CNBC, and he got married to Mika Brzezinski. I can never say her name. A couple of years ago, like maybe 3 or 4 years ago, and so at their engagement party, they hired me, and I'm in a room as Trump in some like Upper East Side mansion,
Sounds fancy.
and yeah, I'm in there, and it's like in front of me, it's like Al Sharpton, Mayor de Blasio, Chuck
Oh
Schumer,
God.
Charlie Rose, Donnie Deutsch, um, every liberal that was friends with them was in the room.
Wow.
And I remember just doing Trump, and like the only people laughing were Al Sharpton and Donnie Deutsch, and everyone else was like nervous.
Oh man, that's too bad that they
I
couldn't
know.
let themselves enjoy it.
I know everyone's when you meet a lot of these people, they're all full of shit. Like Corey
You mean
Lewandowski might.
liberals, of course.
Yeah, but I have to say, like, I did like a Republican event with Corey Lewandowski, and it was a Michigan fundraiser for the Republicans. They hired me to go there and do Trump and give a speech at the end. And Corey Lewandowski was afraid to take a picture with me because I think he thought
Wow.
Trump might see it and get. Meanwhile, Trump would love what I do, but
Yeah,
they're so nervous about optics, like a picture or who I'm next to. And that was disappointing. So a
that's
lot of these
sad.
people you meet, you get disappointed. You're like, they're not exactly what I thought they were. But either way, it's been a great thing, and I'm still getting a ton of private events like left and
That's
right.
great.
So
That's
yeah,
so great. I think people either they love him or they love to hate him, and
yes,
he's just so entertaining, and I like the way that you approach it, like, you're not putting a negative spin on like, you're just a
no,
vessel, you're just like a channel, you're a
yes.
channeler, you're just like, you know what I mean? People can read into it what they want, and you're just there to, like, give people a good time.
Yes, and I've had people literally get triggered and walk out of parties, giving me the finger, yelling at me.
Wow.
Oh yeah,
You're just a guy, like,
yeah,
what the
women
fuck?
crying, giving me the finger, calling me a rapist. yelling at, I mean, literally calling me a rape.
But they know that you're not him, right? Or they
I'm like
just
5'9". I'm like 12 inches shorter than he is. I'm clearly in a wig, and people are like running out. People, when I did Coachella, and with in front of 80,000 people, which was insane, with rapper YG, and I lived on a tour bus with him and traveled with him and Kendrick Lamar in 2017 for a month, which was the
wow, what was that like?
that was insane. That was another one of these
What kind of
amazing
food was on the
projects.
bus?
What's that?
Like, what kind of snacks were on the bus?
Vagina. That was the snack. So I can be crude on this, can I?
Of
Right?
course,
All right.
yes.
All right. I felt like I had
I
to
would
edit.
be upset if you weren't.
All right. So yeah, I got an email one day and it was like, listen, this is the manager for YG. Do you want to go on tour with YG and Kendrick Lamar? It's an 18 city tour, 30,000 people a night, arena tour starting in San Jose and ending in Miami. And we're going to be in Canada, all across the country. And
Wow.
I thought, I didn't know who Kendrick Lamar, I mean, how white is this? I didn't know who Kendrick Lamar was.
No, didn't he date a Kardashian? I barely know who he
I
is.
thought he was like a linebacker for the Baltimore Ravens. I had
Right?
no idea who
Yeah.
it was.
Okay.
And I'm like, and I get the email. I'm like, who the? So I mentioned it to somebody. I'm like, yeah, Kendrick. And they're like, yeah, Kendrick Lamar is like one of the biggest like hip hop artists out right now in 2017. He later went on to win like a Grammy. I'm like, I didn't even know. So I was like, of course, I'm like, I got to do it because I don't know where this is going to go. Of course, I got to go on tour. And they're like, look, you're going to be basically on a bus, and there'll be some hotel rooms, but it's a bus tour. And I'm like, all right, well, I figure we'll be on the bus during the day. Then at night we do the show, and then we stay at a hotel. And then the next day we get back on the bus. Well, of course, didn't end up that way. I show up that like a week later. I literally was in Idaho, and I jump on a plane and I land in San Jose. Get in Uber. I show up an hour before the show, and there's a big bus, and there's like a 50 African American guys outside the bus, and they're like,
Were you afraid to say black? You were like, I have to call them African
yeah, I'm trying to
American.
be nice. Well, just in case if they're listening, I don't want them to stab me. Yeah, 50 black guys, and they're like urban, like
Very black.
So YG
Okay.
is a Bloods gang member, and all of his
Oh,
friends
okay.
are
Did you feel
Bloods.
safe, protected?
Yeah. So I made the mistake. I was wearing blue. I had no idea.
Oh,
And
no.
I'm like, oh shit. I'm a Giant fan. I know nothing about the Crips. Don't kill me. And so for the next 4 weeks, I'm living on a bus where there's 6 buses, and I lived on a bus. We had 2 strippers on our bus.
What were their names?
What's that?
Do you remember their names?
You know what? They're not even. I could find out. I don't even remember, but they were not like famous dancers.
Okay.
Like literally girls that they met like locally.
Just starting out. Yeah, like an internship or
Just
something.
starting out, right?
Like an entry
Apprenticeship.
level position. Okay.
Yes, apprenticeships or whatever. And there was like 2 white guy roadies that like looked like pirates. They were like, the typical like gruff and backward baseball hat. And they've been doing this for years. And then just 6 of his buddies from Compton. And there were no hotels. We literally lived on the bus for 4 weeks. There was
Wow.
9 of us sleeping on top of each other in little cubbies. And I remember being like, oh my God, I had a panic attack. I'm like, first of all, I can't sleep on a bus in like a little cubby. It's like a pizza oven.
I've seen these videos of these like pimp tour buses, and it's like
Yeah.
it's like not even bunk beds, it's like stacked.
Yeah. You can't even sit up, and
Claustrophobic,
you
yeah.
can't sit up. You have to
Nope.
literally, you just slide in
Like
and you lay
slide
down.
in. Mhm.
And you have a curtain. That's all you have. And you have
Yep.
9 other people, like 2 above you, and then 3 other, whatever, 6 or 7 other people. And these aren't your friends. Like you don't even know. That would be horrible with your family. You imagine, and with your friends, it would
You
be.
probably like didn't know where to put your wallet.
Yeah, well, I put it where I should put it. I shoved it up my ass because they don't like
Were
they.
people having sex on the bus? In the little cubby
Well,
holes?
with me, they were. They were
Okay.
raping me. I got raped for 1 month. I was raped as
Hey,
Trump.
it's worth it for the opportunity.
Yeah, but I was, because I was Trump. It didn't count as me getting raped,
Okay,
so
right.
that felt good.
You'd be like, "Orange man, bad."
Yeah, right. So we go on there, and imagine like being on a bus with people that number one, they're all friends, and I'm a white guy that
Wow,
looks
and
like
you're the
a
odd
cop.
man out.
So they
Yeah,
don't even want to get to know me because they're like, first of all, I'm doing
'cause you're
Trump.
white. Yeah.
Yeah, and they would look at me when I was out without makeup, and they'd be like, "Yo, fuck Trump, fuck Trump,
You'd be like,
fuck Trump.
I'm not his representative.
Yo,
Yeah, like, I don't
I'm gonna touch your chin, yo. You fuck Trump." And they're like, "What do you like, Trump?" And I'm like, "No,
What?
dude, I'm doing this. That's the parody. I'm doing it because he has a song called "Fuck Donald
You
Trump."
must like him, you
Right,
know?
and they were freaking out, and I was like, "I'm gonna die on this freaking trip." And then his bodyguard, like after the shows at
Kendrick
night.
Lamar would be saying that to you?
No, not Kendrick.
Okay.
Kendrick had his own bus.
Oh,
Kendrick, ironically, is like really, really. He's really he's straight. He doesn't drink. He doesn't drug. He's like straight arrow, and he had
okay.
his own bus.
So he's
And
boring.
YG is much more, city, urban,
Okay.
like bad.
He's
The
the
bad.
Crip, right?
He's the bad boy. He's the
Okay.
blood bad boy. He's like likes to
Is he the
smoke
crypt
pot.
keeper? Is he like a main crypt? I don't know how it
Yeah.
works.
Well, he's a blood.
Oh,
So
whoops.
yeah,
Alright.
we wouldn't. I would never call him a crip. That would be. That's not. That probably would be. That might end my career with him.
That'd be the it. Yeah, you do the wrong handshake. I don't know.
Right. You do the wrong. I didn't know any of this thing. I was so white. I never felt white in my life until I was on there, and I didn't even understand what they were saying to each other. Like I'd wake up and they'd be like, "Yo, what's cracking? What? Yo, we got to chop it up. Sit down. We got to chop it up." I'm
We
like,
gotta
"Chop
chop
it
it
up?
up. Yeah.
Are we eating? Like I don't chop it up."
Yeah, are we
Oh,
making a salad? What's
right.
happening? Yeah.
And they were like, "No, dude, you don't know urban slang." I'm like, "I don't know. I don't." So, but they couldn't kill me because they needed me every night to go on stage with each other
Yeah.
every night.
That's really
So
funny.
it was crazy, and there was no, and I have to say, but I really thought like I was like these guys really don't. They never acknowledge. They wouldn't talk to me. No one hung out with me. I was
Whoa. See,
literally on my own.
comedians do. Like, you might not like somebody,
Yeah.
your opener, but if you get put in a comedy condo with somebody, you end up, being polite and becoming friendly, and even if you don't think they're the most hilarious person, you get along.
Yeah, and they were like they're very, very insular, they're like they hang out with each other and they see a white guy and he's not from I'm not from Compton. I'm not in that world. They didn't even want to get to know me. But the irony is by the end and by the way, never make gay jokes with them. Like I made a gay joke with one of them
No,
and he
they
wanted to
will
kill me.
not. Yeah.
I pretended to
Like,
blow him as Donald Trump with the wig on in the middle of the green room. One of
oh
them.
my god,
One of
no,
them was
no,
he's like, "Yo, Trump with that wig. What are you, a tranny? You a tranny?" And he was like the
how
skinny.
clever.
He
Yeah.
was the skinny, wimpiest one out of all of them. He like, "Yo, you tranny, yo, you tranny. We you probably out blowing people. You tranny with your
Yes,
wig on."
yes.
So I went right over and made a beeline with my wig, and I just went into his legs like I was gonna blow him.
That's
And
great.
everyone was like, "Whoa, what the fuck? What was that shit, yo?"
That's
And
funny.
then that night on the bus, he freaked out. This kid, he was so angry at me because he basically it's like I'm calling him a faggot by doing that.
Wow.
I'm like, I was, but I was blowing you, so you
Yeah.
should be happy.
He was calling you that first, basically. It's like,
Exactly. You were calling me
you
a
were just doing
tranny,
that
and then
out of nowhere.
right, I didn't have to blow you. I was
He
doing it with a
basically
nice
called you
gesture.
gay. So,
Right,
how is that
right,
your fault?
right. So that night we almost had like a fight in the
Oh my
bus.
god.
And then after that, I was like, "Oh my god, they're all gonna kill me because they're all friends."
You have to
But
sleep
then
with your
they
curtain open. Yeah.
exactly. But then after that, we didn't have a fight, but we got into a verbal thing, and all of his friends were like
Whoa.
waiting, like to see what happened. And after that, believe it or not, they all respected me because they saw that I wasn't kissing their ass. And
Okay, that's good.
I'm New York. I'm me. I'm who I am. And I went back to do Coachella a year later, and they were all so happy to see me, and they were hugging me, and we were friends.
What? Really? Wow.
Yeah, and there is a beautiful moral at the end of the story, which is
And then
like,
they did finally let you blow them.
yes, they did. Yeah, well, I was raped first. I was raped again. That was that was part of it. I always get
Mhm.
raped by them,
Yeah.
and then they let me blow them this time without the wig. That was
Wow, that they must really like you now.
it's a big
Wow.
step. but the thing was that we all go into a situation with a certain stigma or stereotype of other people, and I certainly had one of them. I mean, I've never hung out with gang members, and they've never hung out with me. And by the end of it, it's like I understood their world.
Yeah,
Um,
but I'm sure they at no point were worried for their lives
no,
hanging around you, so
no,
it's
because
not
there was
quite
20 of them, right?
you're like, "Wow." They're probably like, "Wow, Bob folded all of our laundry." And you're like, "I almost thought I was gonna die." It's, like, not
Right.
exactly the same.
Right. They were in the upper hand the whole time. Um, and
Wow.
totally crazy. But by the end of it, like we were all very friendly because I think we realized, like, at the end of it, you're just guys, you're human beings, and like just like someone might meet you or hear you or see you and see let's say they hear you on a podcast and you're being really irreverent, and they're like, oh, that's against my political view, and then they meet you and they're like, oh wait, wow, you're really cool and you're really
Yeah.
down to
Oh,
earth and
yeah.
you're really funny, and all of a sudden the wall comes down, and that's what we have to do is performers. It's like,
Yeah.
and that's what's going on now in our country. Like everyone's just got labels for everybody. It's a shame, right?
Yeah. What was the most surprising thing you learned about, like, being on tour, or, like, most surprising thing you saw about tour life or, like, learned?
Yeah, it was it's very grueling. People think that when you're whether you're a musician or a comedian, whatever, that touring is really it's like this wonderful experience, and it's grueling. It's physically exhausting. A lot of times I would hear bands like Motley Crue get interviewed, and they're like, you have to train. You're in the gym, like you're training before you go on tour to build up
Yeah.
this endurance. And people are like, well, I don't understand. You're just doing an hour on stage at night, but it's not just the hour. It's like you're living on a bus. You're not getting sleep. Your hours are all crazy. And then you're literally like, we would do a show and then that night be on the bus at like 2 in the morning and drive 8 hours to another city. So
Oh,
you're not
wow.
sleeping well, you're not eating well, and then you have to get up and then you have to go out that day. They would go and set up. They got to go have rehearsals, and then you have to go out and put out the same show, put up the same product that you did the night before. And even as comedians, I mean, you travel a lot now, and I'm on the road a lot. And I know when I come back from the road, like I'm exhausted.
It is exhausting, and I get, like, the working out because it's like, you gotta get to a point where that 1 hour on stage is, like, you're not exhausted, like, you're bringing your best. You gotta get
Yes,
your endurance up. It is
yes,
exhausting, but I kind of
yeah.
it's exciting too. It's like but
Oh
now
yeah,
you do it long enough, you figure out, like, "Okay, I can do this many cities in a row, but not this many." You know what I mean? Like, you know kinda where your limits are.
yes. And you like I remember not planning well. Like I was doing so many Trump appearances that I just didn't know how to plan things. So I remember I got called to do a corporate event in Italy with Adam Lambert.
What?
Yeah, another,
He's
yeah,
a singer, right?
for
Oh,
Queen.
yeah.
Yeah, and he was also, wasn't he like the um
He was like an American Idol
yeah,
winner. Yeah.
yes, or runner up or something. So yeah, that was like, so 2 years ago that was another really cool thing. I got a call and they're like, oh, do you want to do this party? It's going to be you and Adam Lambert and then this guy that does Elvis. He's a
Oh,
really great
wow.
Elvis impersonator. And it's for this guy who's like a multimillionaire doctor.
A private party in their house.
In
Or like
Florence, Italy, on a farm.
wow! What was that like? Did you take a lot of pictures?
I did a lot of video,
That's
and I
cool.
literally, but this was like bad planning. Like I was like, I didn't know. Like it was all last minute. It was like, hey, and I literally flew out the night before to Italy, the night before the event. Which, if you're flying to Europe,
No.
I know now that you got to at least go in 2 days before, at least, because it's like a 12-hour flight and
You
it's
gotta adjust.
exhausting. And I literally that night got in at 8 o'clock at night, and then the next day I had to perform, and I was on like no sleep, and it was horrible. And then literally they wanted me to come out and do Trump, and then bring Adam Lambert out on stage, and he did his like a concert for like 50 people
Wow.
in a little club
That's
like
pretty
on a
cool.
farm, and
That's neat.
it was really neat. So doing Trump, I have people that will get angry. I know a lot of liberal people I know would be angry, like you're a sellout, you're doing all these Trump events, and doing Republican shows, and it's like, fuck off. It's like, this is what I do. This is my living. I'm an artist. I work for everybody. It doesn't matter. And I do them the same way I would do them, whether I'm working for one group or another group. That's the beauty of it. I'm not a chameleon. I'm not a fraud. I'm doing what I've always done.
Yeah.
And people admire me for what I do. That's the greatest compliment. But I've lost friends that are like on Facebook, like, oh, I guess you'll do anything for $1, huh? You know,
Wow.
yeah.
Those people
Oh,
are assholes and they're
idiots.
stupid.
But
Yeah.
meanwhile, like I remember one guy got mad at me. He was like, "Oh, you're doing the Georgia Boat Parade and you're promoting Trump to these people." It's like, yeah, I am. They like Trump and I do Trump. So what
Yeah, like a dentist isn't gonna like ask you your politics before they decide to like pull out a tooth or not, you know? It's
right.
like you're just doing your job. You're good at
Yes.
something and you're doing it for people who enjoy it. Like what's wrong with that?
Right. And this guy worked at a hospital. I'm like, oh, really? Because there's a lot of corruption in hospitals, right? Where there's
Uh-huh.
kickbacks with
Oh,
doctors and
yeah.
yeah,
Hello. Welcome to COVID. Yeah.
right. And you don't, so that's okay, but I shouldn't do what I'm doing. Okay, buddy.
Right. And it's not like like if Trump had won, well, lots of people think he did, he just didn't get in office, but,
Yeah.
if he had won, oh, he won by 20 votes, well, Bob shouldn't have done those impressions at those
And
parties.
if he
They
did
would have
that,
never have found out about Trump if it
if
weren't for
Bob
your
did not
impression.
get raped on that bus,
Yeah,
wearing the
yeah.
wig, and then did that 20 people party at the Georgia Boat Parade, yeah, I'm telling you, he would have lost.
Yeah. It's like you're basically canvassing for the guy. That's
Yeah.
crazy. And,
Yeah.
I definitely know about losing friends. Like, I lost friends just for being at January 6th, covering the events, and, like, people just don't know. They don't care to know that's not and if they really were friends, they'd hit you up and be like, "Hey, I see you're doing this impression, like, I don't know, you wanna tell me more about that?" Or like, "Hey, you were at this event. You want like, let's talk about it." But they don't care. It's like they just wanna grandstand and virtue signal and be like, "I'm unfriending you."
And also the thing is that I had friends that were there, and people seem to forget because they've been given this narrative by the news that like they seem to think there must have been thousands of people breaking into the Capitol when really it was like tens of thousands of people that were there peacefully protesting. No
Million.
different
1,000,000 to
million.
2,000,000.
Yeah,
Like,
right.
it's but people don't
Whatever.
know because there's all this footage that nobody can
Right,
see.
right. So you
Yeah.
have this. It's no different than like the protesters during 2020, the summer, when they're out there protesting
Yeah.
peacefully, and then you had a small group of looters that would go out at night and break into places and loot. That was a small percentage, what like 2% of the people that were protesting, and it was the same thing there. And it was like they wanted it their way, where it was like, oh, we're peacefully protesting, and they didn't want to look at the looters and the people that were attacking police or
Nope.
injuring innocent people. But then when it happens at the Capitol, it's like, oh, everyone there is an insurrectionist. What a horrible, dangerous label for either cause. It's like,
Yeah.
no, I had friends that were standing, they didn't even know the people that I knew that were there had no idea that people had broken into the
Yeah.
Capitol.
Yeah, because it was, like, very chill and fun and, like,
Right,
most of the people that were there were just standing outside like,
right.
"Wow, look at everybody. Look at all these
I mean, that's like
flags."
going to a football game and they're like,
Yeah,
and
everybody was playing. Yeah.
there's a fight in the bathroom on the 3rd level, right? By, section
Yeah.
B5, and they're like, "Oh my god, you were part of that brawl in the
Yes.
bathroom?" You're like, "I was just watching the game. I have no idea what you're talking about."
Yeah, and 6 months prior to January 6th, there was a bunch of BLM and Antifa who actually literally stormed the White House and almost burnt the thing down, but you don't hear
Right.
about it.
No.
Yeah, so
It
there's all sorts of different rules based on what your who you vote for and
and,
what your beliefs are.
when if someone doesn't agree with your point of view or any point of view, it's so much better just to sit down and try to understand why that person feels the way they do, because we all come into I mean, we all come from different backgrounds. We're all raised differently. We've all been given a different set of circumstances in our life that help shape us. And maybe if I have a disagreement with someone and I get to know them, I'll go, "Oh, I understand now why you're so sensitive about this issue because of whatever." And that's where you have that discourse, and then you can meet and have a compromise instead of just labels, judgment. I've had comedians reach out to me, big comedians,
Ooh,
like
like who? Anybody I know?
texting me. Yeah, I mean, I won't even say their name because they're my friend, and I don't want to make it seem like I'm shitting on them. Someone that you and I would both know who's a high level comic that reached out to me and was like, "Why are you like liking Donald Trump's tweet? Why did you like?" I mean,
Oh my God, it's a tweet. Relax.
and I
Yeah.
was like, look, like I felt, I'm like, I don't know why you're upset about that. Like you're so dug in that you're upset that I like something. Do you know how many tweets I like a day? I like
Yeah.
tweets from everybody.
And who are they? Are they your handler? You know what I mean? Are they like
Right. It was
managing your
almost like they were
career?
disappointed in me that I would do that. I'm like, I
Wow.
can't believe. I mean, I've had people unfollow me. A lot of comedians that are very liberal that we know follow me. And by the way, I'm not even political. Like I'm
Wow.
an independent. I don't consider myself
Yeah.
anything.
You
I
don't
just
really
look
come off one way or the other. You're
no.
kinda just like, "Eh."
And I don't want to be locked into one side ever because I can look at issues. I'm more of an issue person.
Right, and if you're not a foaming at the mouth lefty, then you're considered alt-right.
Right, right, which is absurd, you know?
Yeah.
And I'm also not a guy, that I think we've met. I think, Richard Jenny once said this, and it's so true. It's like anyone who's on the extreme, right or left, I want nothing to do with. Anyone who's that far right or left, because that's someone who's unwilling to ever look and understand anyone else's point of view. I like to consider myself, I'm on the fence, and in this way I can see what's going on the right and left, and it's a good place for me to be. It doesn't mean that, like, there's a lot of stuff that goes on now with the liberal, the woke stuff is garbage.
It's bad for
CNN.
comedy too, yeah.
Remember CNN when we were at war in 2000 in Iraq? That was like the network to watch.
Oh, yeah, they
That
were
was like
respected.
they were like a great network then. There was all this amazing coverage of the war, and they were embedded. And now it's like it turned into a media left wing narrative based.
It's hard to take it seriously, and they've had, like, producers, like, getting caught for sexual harassment and I don't know, all sorts of stuff, so
Such hypocrisy, isn't it?
yeah, it's crazy.
Terrible.
It's so nuts. Um, it's really cool that you've been able to make so much money off of something you're very good at, and, like, I'm sure now comes easily to you doing Trump, you know?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I do. I mean, now I think when you do an impression, it literally becomes a part of who if you when you do it long enough, it's like a character that you just slip into. And when I get hired now to do events, I have one tomorrow night, and I'll do like 30 to an hour, and I'm in character the whole time.
Wow. How much of your material can you do as Trump? Like, what is your process like for if like fleshing out that set?
Yeah, so I write everything I write are jokes for the character Trump. So I'm getting up there, and when they hire me, it's like a rally. It's like Trump showed up, and here's a rally with Donald Trump. So tomorrow
Mhm.
night I'll be in Brooklyn or Coney Island tomorrow night, and it's like this is at a restaurant, and then like I'm going to Miami in 3 weeks to do an event for a corporate where I'm doing Trump, and I'm going to come out and give like a 40-minute rally. So everything that Trump would say, China, Sleepy Joe, the
Yeah.
election, and all of that, and I just write jokes for all of that. So it's really, really, funny.
Do you feel like, in the couple of impressions that I've done, like, Greta Thunberg and then, like, I don't know, a couple of, like, low profile people, but I find, like, for me, doing a good impression is, like, you have to find something you like about the person, like,
Yeah.
you have to get to know them and you wanna be convincing, so it's almost like you have to kinda get into their head a little bit.
Yes. Yes. I think if you really study, like I'm not someone that just likes to do a voice. I really want to, and that's maybe the actor in me. Like I really try to, it really becomes like almost like a method or a Meisner. Like I really want to Daryl Hammond, when he saw me on The View, he said, "Wow, you think like him." I see.
Wow, that's
He
a
said, "This is
great
the." He goes,
compliment.
"Oh, it was amazing." He was like, "This is the best." He goes, "You're the best Trump I've ever seen because you actually have the inner workings of his mind." And I, and I thought
You're
that
like,
was
"You voted for him, didn't you? Unfriend."
right, 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 exactly. And that's when I do it. I think when you do an impression, yeah, you want to capture not just the things they say, but the essence of the way they say it. So for me,
Yeah.
it was originally it was just getting down the Trump voice, and then it was the mannerisms, but then it was like all the little nuances.
Would you listen to the same speech over and over to get the
Yeah,
the the voice down, or would you listen to a
yeah.
lot of different stuff?
No, like yeah, I would listen just over and over interviews, speeches. Like the first thing was just hearing a word like China, 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 or jabs, jabs, jabs. And then it
Jabs,
was
yeah.
just the face. He's got a very kind of serious face, pensive. And then he does a lot of the breathing where it's just like
Yeah. He like breathes in through his teeth. He's like,
well, we're looking at it, and he really has a small mouth, so he doesn't. A lot of times when people do impressions, it's like we're doing it, the jabs, the jab. It's not that. He's actually, his mouth is very like, we're looking at it very closely,
yeah,
and
there's
we're
not a
going to
lot
talk
going
to
on.
him, and we're
Mhm.
working at it. We're going to try to do it. We don't know if we can do it. We'll try to do. And he does a lot of that. And I'm sorry, I feel horrible because my
No, it's
impression is
good.
really
It's
good
good.
if I wasn't sick. But if people
It's
go
like
on
even the smile you do, like you smile on certain words. It's like a really
like
like deep impression. It's like really
even
fleshed
without
out.
saying a word, if I just to become him, people can get the essence of just the face. When I just like here's my baseline face. That's me normal. And then if I start becoming trumpets,
So it's furrowed brow. Yeah. Wow, your face must get tired
it does. I have like a little crease now above my nose
from doing
right
him.
there from doing that for so long. So yeah.
Well, if you didn't want that, you could get a little Botox
But it's
there.
also the funny things he says. You'll pick up little lines, and everything's it's when he's kind of like mocking, like the other side. It's always like, oh, it's horrible. It's horrible what they're doing. It's really terrible. It's very sad what they're doing, and we're not happy about that, and we're looking at it very closely. But it's terrible, and it's really a train wreck, and it's a laughing stock. We're really becoming a laughing stock to the world, and it's really terrible. And usually I'll come out like when I give a rally, and I'm immediately like, I'll talk about the crowd because that's what Trump does, And again, if you're liberal or Republican, that's what he says. So
Right. He says,
they'll
"My
love it.
African
I'll be
American
like,
over there." Was that you on
yeah,
the tour bus? You'd be like, "My African American over there.
right,
Hello,
right.
my Bloods, my Crips."
We love these. By the way, look at the red tie. It matches the Bloods. We love the Bloods. And he always does this when he points to people. He'll do a lot of this. I
Because he
can't
didn't
see it.
wanna point, he goes
He
like
does
that.
this, and then he'll do that. The finger goes up and it goes down. Like
Okay.
especially with a reporter. Excuse me,
I'd be like,
you're horrible. You don't know what you say. Look, CNN is the corrupt news network. That's what they are. They're corrupt. Or how about maybe the Clinton news network? It's the ratings. Look, the ratings are horrible. They're lower than Harvey Weinstein's zipper. That I can tell you. And then you got NBC, which stands for nothing but crap. They're terrible. And everybody knows my favorite network. What is it? What's my favorite network?
Oh, wait.
Wrong. You're an idiot. What is it? No, you're stupid. It's the Playboy Channel, right? We love the Playboy Channel. And then after that, we like OAN and we like Newsmax and
Newsmax.
Fox. I like Fox. Not everybody on Fox, but I like some of them on Fox. Hannity and Laura Ingraham and Jesse. I like Jesse and Gutfeld. I like them. And
Trump, are you definitely gonna run, in 2024?
well, we're looking at it very closely. I think we can win the House, and I think we'll win that very easily, to be honest with you. And then we're looking at running and winning the Senate. I think it'll be tougher, but I think we could do it. And if I look, I can't say it now, you know that. I can't say it yet, but we're looking at it. And I think, let me just say this. I think you'll be very happy. You'll be very happy when you hear about it.
I don't think Pelosi's gonna
Well,
gonna
look,
come back.
she's terrible, you know that. And nobody's
I feel like
done.
I'm talking to an old friend.
Nobody's done what I've done. Nobody. Look, we had COVID. We had the vaccines. We had therapeutics. We did more than anybody's ever done. Everybody knows that. You look at Sleepy Joe, they did nothing. More people have died under Sleepy Joe's administration than mine. More people, like thousands and thousands of people have died, thousands. And we did wonderfully. And that's what it is, the COVID. It's a germ, it's a scourge. I call it the invisible enemy. That's what it is. It's invisible because you can't see it. And if you could see it, it would look like Nancy Pelosi.
If you zoom in on the COVID, it actually looks like Pelosi's head. That's funny.
I really wish It's a shame my voice sucks tonight, but
Oh my God, no,
they'll see it on. They go on YouTube. You can see me in the full makeup and everything.
that was plenty. How did you go about buying and finding the makeup you need for this? Because it sounds like the first time you did this impression, it was on network TV, and you probably had makeup people figure it out for you, right? And then did
Yeah.
you have to watch them and then, like, buy what they buy?
Yeah, it's actually really easy. Yeah, just a foundation. They would just put a dark foundation on me. I'm with like an orangey foundation, and then I just watched them do that, and then I went out and got a wig, and really it takes me about 15 minutes to get ready. But what I
Oh,
do is
wow.
I put about 16, 15 t-shirts on to bulk
Really?
up, and then I wear a white shirt and then the suit because I try to look more top
Puffy.
heavy because
So
he's
you'd rather wear 15 T-shirts than get, like, a fat suit?
well, the fat suits, that would be ideal if I had a really good theatrical one and not one that looked fake.
Okay.
And I haven't been able to find something, even on Amazon. I'd have to go to a really good like theatrical store.
Yeah, maybe they could, I don't know, sponsor you or something, or use you
Yeah.
trade for videos or something,
Yeah,
like
good idea. Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Because it's a lot of the ones where, and even the wigs, like I was the only Trump guy that wears the Trump hat with here. So
With the wig.
yeah, so like normally, yeah, like I would be the only person there would have the wig on with the hat over it. Most of them just wear the wig, but the wigs are so dumb. They look so stupid. Like SNL, that guy has a great wig, but it's SNL. They have the money,
Right.
and all the
Yeah,
right
budget.
people. But I don't know. It's really hard to find a good wig that would look good standalone. So I have the wig on, and this over it.
Smart.
Well, then to me it looks a lot better. And even now, just that alone, just the hat, it's horrible. You know that. Look, some people say I'm the greatest president, frankly, maybe even better than Lincoln. And I think I'm a lot better than Lincoln because I didn't get shot.
Except I got shot at constantly by the fake news media.
They're fake news. They're totally fake. They're fake.
I
They're
think
horrible.
Trump, part of his, like, public persona, he uses a lot of, I think, simple words. I think
Oh
that's a
yeah.
part of his charm.
Yeah, it's absolutely. It's simple. It's like he'll take a word and then find five other synonyms to that word. Like, and that's how it all started, right? Like, it was good, it was great, frankly, and then he's constantly just changing. He'll just keep upping it. Like,
Yeah.
well, we had a good meeting. Actually, really, it was a great meeting. Perhaps it was one of the greatest meetings in the
It was
history of the country,
best
and
meeting.
perhaps even the world by far. Nobody comes close. You know it, and I know it. Look, we had a great meeting. People were showing up. We had thousands of people. They're pouring in. Thousands of people were pouring in. No one could even get in. It was so beautiful. It was really a beautiful meeting. Like he says things that are so funny. Like when he'll talk about our military, he'll be like, "We've got a great military, and we built it up. When I took over, the cupboards were bare. It was horrible. It was absolutely horrible. The cupboards were bare. Then I built it up, and now we got beautiful missiles and shiny bombs. They're so shiny, so shiny. We have
Trump, why
bombs
didn't
that
you
are
have
so
a
shiny,
dog in the White House?
huh?
Why didn't you have a dog in the White
Well,
House?
because Rosie O'Donnell was busy.
Oh my
She
god.
couldn't do it, right? She turned us down, right? We said, "Get us a dog." Where's Rosie, right? We love Rosie, big Rosie. Maybe a horse. She's more of a horse, to
Oh
be
my
honest.
god.
She is totally horrible.
That's really
She is
fun.
disgusting. She's gross. But I love Asian women because I like to grab them by the vagina.
Oh, not saying the P word anymore.
Right, or the pussy. Grab 'em by the pussy. That was another thing. I was like, look, I'm all out to call out someone when I think they're wrong. And Donald Trump is not perfect. And there are things about him where I used to get mad. I still get mad. I'm like, dude,
Mhm.
I
Yeah.
impersonate you. If you just said this or did this,
You'd
you
make
would
you
have so many less detractors. And,
right.
and it's infuriating because there is a narcissistic. He's very much a I mean, look, most people that run for office are
Yep.
narcissistic.
Most
I hate
people
when
in
they say
politics.
he's narcissistic. I mean, most of them all are. You have to be somewhat of an egomaniac to feel that you can run a country. No one would want that job. But he sometimes he'll just come out and say things. I'm just like, oh, I wish he would just
Because you're
pull
like,
it
damn,
back.
now I have to say that at a gig and people are not gonna like me.
Yeah, but
Did you
I'm
vote
like,
for him?
what, say again?
Vote for him?
So the first time I voted for Hillary because I didn't really know I was playing Trump, but no, ready? This is full transparency.
Okay.
Voted for Hillary because I was in line and I wanted to vote for Trump. And my mother's like, "You're going to vote for Trump because you play him? Like, who is more?"
Like I'm getting into character.
And I'm
Yeah.
like, "Well, I want him to win because I love playing him."
And you'll get more work. Yeah.
And ready for this? I never voted in my life, ever, ever. So when I was in line, my mother's like, "Well, you should vote for who's more qualified." And I was like, "Well, Mom, I actually think I don't want to see another politician. I would love to see what Trump can do. I don't care if it was Dr. Phil. I mean, I'd love to see a non-Clinton, a non-polished politician in there and see what they can do because he is a businessman and he is a
Yeah.
jobs guy." And I was like, let's see what he can do. So I was like, man, now I felt guilty. I'm like, oh, maybe I'm just voting because I play him. And so I remember I voted for her, but I was mad. But see, I kind of rationalized it. I was like, well, I'm in Jersey. Doesn't matter. My vote doesn't really matter. It doesn't. It's a liberal state. So I did it, but I felt bad because I wanted him. So that night he wins, and I'm like, oh my God, yes. So I was so happy because I guess I
Oh,
felt like my vote doesn't count. But the second time I voted for Trump, and I'm sure a lot of people would be angry about that, but it wasn't because there's things about Trump that I don't always agree with or I don't like. But I knew that Joe Biden is not the right fit. It was not the right person in a lot of ways with his policies, and we're seeing that
right.
come to fruition.
Oh,
But
yeah.
and that's it. I mean, unfortunately, we only have two choices. I wish there was 10, but we don't. This is the country we live in.
Yeah. 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 The people are afraid to. Well, you could get into a whole like, how the libertarians are blocked from ballot access and third
Mhm.
parties are absolutely not encouraged in
Right,
our current
right.
system.
And the
So,
two-party system, you know, doesn't work. And even what's his name? What was the wrestler, the governor of Minnesota? What's his name again?
Jesse
Yeah,
Ventura.
Jesse Ventura. He said the two-party system does not work. And between the lobbyists and all these corporate backers and donors, I mean, it's so manipulated. I mean, I think most elections are so manipulated because it's really who has the more money, who's got more money and
Absolutely.
more backing. I mean, look what
Yeah.
they did to Bernie Sanders. I mean, if you're a liberal, you
Oh,
should be angry how they
they
squeezed Bernie
dethroned
out,
him. Yeah.
right?
Yeah, I think
So
they paid him off. I know if you look back at our first couple of presidents, like I remember I was looking way, way back and third parties were it was like basically alternating. Like every other president was like one of the three parties. It was
yeah,
like, oh God, this would have been good if I had written them down so I could tell you guys. But
yeah.
it was like I don't remember. But there were three, and I was like, oh, that was cool.
But even now, like if you vote for somebody, again, another way for people to get wide-eyed, like you voted. It's like instead of labeling
Like
someone,
relax. Yeah.
I mean, people vote for people like they'll be like, everyone who voted for Trump is racist. This is what they wanted everyone to believe. You're racist, you're stupid, you're a redneck.
Half
And
the
I'm like,
country is that. Yeah.
right. And I'm like, I hate to break it to you, but I think I know like of a lot of the demo because I'm out there doing parties for them. And I can tell you, I've
Yes.
been I've been in homes where it's C-level people that are corporate. They're very high-level executives, and they're all about business. And they love Trump because of the business, of the jobs, of the economy,
Keeping
of the tax
their
breaks he
money.
gave them,
Mhm.
and literally in $14 million mansions. Okay, then I've been in Staten Island for a blue-collar guy who's a cop or who's a plumber, and then I've been in Hasidic Jews in Brooklyn who love Trump because he's all about business and they love the business. And so I hate it's this horrible, the
The
labeling.
people who say that are not in touch with
No,
the country,
no.
and they
Because
probably haven't been at a state their own
right.
state. They just, like they're just parroting back what they hear on TV. It's like they
A
don't actually know these people, or they
hundred
don't even
percent.
actually know Trump or what his real
Right,
policies were, what he
right.
actually did for the country. So,
I actually meet a lot of people who know Donald Trump very well because they're the ones hiring me. They've either gone to school with him. One guy did a lot of work with him for about 15 years because he's a real estate guy. And I just did this party 2 weeks ago, and they all say the same thing, and that's where I build my own personal profile of Trump,
Hmm.
because I'm not going to get it from CNN, because they're going to just obviously create what they want. But they'll all say he's very, very generous. He's a very quiet guy, actually. When you meet him one on one, he's very quiet. He's not. So one guy said to me, he goes, I did a show with him, and he was very quiet backstage, and rather very thoughtful, and then as soon as he got on and got into the interview, it's like he flipped a switch, and it was like he was not a performer Trump. And I
Yeah,
understood that, because I'm
that's
like, that's what
interesting.
they all do. Like Hillary, everyone puts on their best face, it's their performance face. Hillary does it. They all do it. That's part of the game. We do it as comedians, right? We
Oh
go
yeah.
on stage, we're this larger than life version of ourselves, and then off stage, there's other versions of
You
Chrissie
gotta
Mayr.
conserve your energy. You have to reboot yourself. What was
Right.
this? What were the strangest impression requests that you got as Trump or Voss or any other character?
Well, I've been doing a lot of them, like the Dr. Phil and Norm Macdonald, and when I was a kid, I would do Nicholson and Al Pacino, and I mean Trump has been for 6 years. It seems like that's the big one, but
Wow,
like Cameo, I'm on Cameo now, and that's never stops. Like people
good.
always want a birthday, an anniversary, me to roast them as Trump and tell them that they're a liberal friend's an idiot, you're a moron,
Ah!
you're a total idiot, you're probably
I'm
the
gonna
dumbest person.
I'm gonna have to like hire you because I'm thinking of a few people that would actually like really love to get something like that.
You're the
Yeah.
dumbest person I've ever seen. No one's ever been dumber than you. I mean, I looked at your job. I mean, you're failing miserably. I mean, it's really
That's so
fun because
great.
people really want me to be cruel, but I
It's
love doing
yeah.
impressions in my
It's
act.
fun. You're bringing people joy. It's like such a gift, and it is funny. I found like so many people want to be roasted.
They do. Do you really do a Greta Thunberg?
I did it on In Hot Water, like, right when she, had that kind of famous, like, appearance at the UN with, like, the blue background.
I don't even know what she sounds like, but did you do her voice and everything?
God, and it's like, I did it once, and, it's really like, "How dare you?" And I have to, like, immediately like, I have to
Yeah.
listen to her and then immediately do the impression because if I don't, it, like, falls out of my brain, but
But that's people love obscure impressions, and that's
and,
relatively an obscure
the
impression.
twist I put on her, I was like, what is befo like, I don't she's at this time, she was a 16-year-old girl, very passionate about climate change, which, like, isn't common, like, most
It's
young
ridiculous.
girls don't care, there and I'm like, "Why does she care so much about this?" Oh, her parents put her up to it, and nobody will sit so then you learn, like, okay, what else is going on with this girl? And then you're like, nobody will sit with me at lunch." I've always wanted a pony. It's like she's got this
Yeah,
weird
when I
kind
was
of
16, I was waiting out in New Haven to get Van Halen tickets all night with my friend Kenny Lee. I certainly wasn't caring about whether how much snow we were going to get.
No. Yeah.
It was clearly so manipulated, and it backfired. I think a lot of people that had a brain were like, "This is not emotionally moving for me that some young girl cares. She's an idiot,"
Yeah,
because you
she's
knew.
freaking autistic. She's being taken advantage of, and she was definitely, like, programmed. So,
I was hoping while she was speaking, it would start raining.
yeah.
And like the earth is burning up, and meanwhile it's raining on top of her, and
Yeah. The climate, it's going away. I should be in school.
yeah, it's like you should be in school, you little
Yeah.
asshole. Go
Yeah,
back.
nobody's I guess her parents were forcing her there. She's weird. I hope but a lot of kids get sort of manipulated into being involved, to being like the poster boy or poster
Yeah,
girl for
yeah.
a cause. And then you also do impression of our buddy Rich Voss, who is
Okay.
one
So
one of my favorite comics, and also I will always remember him as somebody who like let me open for him like when I
yeah.
was newer.
So look, loosen up, okay? So the other night I jerked off and I came in my eye and I want a stuffed animal. Loosen up, okay? So I got kids. I can't even help with their homework. Daddy, what's your pronoun? I don't know, a noun that gets paid. What's a homonym? A gay nym.
How did you figure out Voss's mannerisms?
I
Like,
used to I used to when I was a waiter at Caroline's before I started doing
you were
stand
a
up.
waiter at Caroline's? Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Before I was even doing I was doing sketch comedy. I wasn't even a comedian yet. And every night when I was waitering down, it was like I was a horrible waiter, but I was like desperate to make
Me
money.
too.
And
It
I
was
used to
really
do
bad.
there was a place called Comedy Nation above Caroline's, which was a restaurant where we used to do walk around characters, and I would walk around as Bill Clinton. This is 25 years ago.
Bill Clinton,
And I would
wow.
walk. This is when he was like a big deal, and I would walk
And
around while
people
people
liked
were
him.
eating, and I would go up to him and be like, "I can't believe I never had sex, never had sexual relations with Tara Lipinski. I never touched her. Monica, her I fucked." I would walk around with the wig and the makeup, and then I would come out as Ralph Cramden. We would do all these crazy characters, and then Voss would always he was like always downstairs, like hosting shows at Caroline's, and I just
What year
remember,
was this? Do you remember?
oh man, probably like two, 99, 2000.
Wow.
And he would be down there, and he was so hilarious. And I remember I would walk by with my tray, and he'd be like, "Look at you! Look at the size of his head! Didn't you fall off a wall? Loosen up, okay? I got more credits
Oh,
than anybody. You want poetry? Go to Soho."
oh, that's so good. He's such a nice guy too.
He is nice.
Such
He's
a
a
cool
very
dude.
genuine. It's funny too because when I impersonate him, he always like I think he hates it. And because Bonnie's like when I fight with him and he's yelling at me, she's like I just start laughing because I just think picture you Bob doing his voice.
Wow. That's how you know it's a really good impression when other people try to do it, they just do your impression of it, like, you know, you make it
Yeah,
easier.
yeah.
That's
But I've
awesome.
always loved him, and I like doing. It's funny when you can do other comedians that we know because it's kind of like those are the inside jokes, and
Oh, it's so good. Yeah. It just feels like, I don't know, it's like gives me the warm, fuzzy feelings.
so yeah. So I think Trump will. I think he's going to run again, don't you?
It certainly seems that way. There's certainly enough merch out that would say
I
he
mean,
is.
even if he doesn't, he would be out rallying for whoever that person is for the
Right.
next 3
That's the
years.
thing, it's like, if it's him versus DeSantis, that could be bad because I think that's really splitting
Yeah, right. The
the group
party. Yeah.
up. Yeah. I don't
It-
know. Yeah, it is tricky, like, the longer the more time goes on, the more I'm upset about things he didn't do while he was in office, but you never know. You don't know the deal. You don't know who's around him, who's threatening him,
oh,
going on.
you talking about Trump? You mean?
Yeah.
What was some of those things? Like you were,
Oh, like, I just, God, I remember when I was talking to Sebastian Gorka about him, he was just like, yeah, he had a lot of people close to him in the White House were just, like, bogging him down and keeping him from getting stuff done, and
yeah.
what he didn't pardon, like, Assange or Snowden or, Joe
You know,
Exotic from Tiger King.
you want to hear something funny? He
Yes.
pardoned a friend of mine who I grew up with.
Who?
You can look him up,
Okay.
Glenn Moss.
Glenn
So,
Moss, that sounds
so I
familiar.
grew up in Danbury, Connecticut. That's which was funny because you're performing there, right? This weekend.
Yeah.
I grew up in Danbury, Connecticut. My next door neighbor was Glenn Moss, and I'm very tight. I've known his family. Glenn and his sister and his other brother. I've known them for years. And Glenn used to play golf with Trump, and he's still
Wow.
very friendly with Donald Trump Jr. And I couldn't believe it. All of a sudden, I see someone said, "Wait, you're from Danbury, right? Didn't you pardon? Do you know Glenn Moss?" I go, "Yeah, it was my neighbor."
Wow.
There it
He is a
is.
Connecticut man who pleaded guilty in a 1998 healthcare fraud case, was
Yeah,
granted a full pardon.
yeah.
Wow. So maybe if Snowden had played golf with Trump, he would have had
So
a
I
better
remember
chance.
Glenn would show me pictures of him playing golf, and I was like, at first I was like, oh, he probably played once, and he was just trying to build himself up. But and then I realized because I'm very friendly with his sister, she was like, no, 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 he plays golf with them all the time. He's very friends with Don Jr. And I was like, oh wow, that's amazing. So it's so funny how I'm really around so many people in different circles
Yeah, that's
that know
amazing.
Donald really, really well. And I was always like, Donald should bring me to his rally. have me open up and do 5 minutes of
Oh
him, like
my
a mini Trump, and then
that
he
would be
can
so
come out
good.
and move me out of the way, and it would be a hit.
That would
And
be great.
I see, as a comedian performer, I just look at that as funny. Now, if other
Yeah,
people heard that are liberal, it's like, oh, I get it. You're all about Trump, and you're. It's like, no, it's not even political for me. It's just like I love doing him.
right.
I can separate it.
Yeah, that's like a simple mind that is gonna give you shit for
Oh my
that.
God, we're really, and I'm like I said earlier, I'm in them because I play both parties. I mean, I get hired by whoever hires me. Everyone's angry at me. Like I have a lot of people
Wow.
that love what I do, obviously, but the people that are on the extreme right or left I've had people go, "You're making fun of my president," like on Twitter. You're making fun of my. I'm not. You're
Oh
making fun of
god,
me, you
come on,
moron.
you're a
I'm
comedian.
doing jokes
It's
as
your
Trump.
job.
Why is that
No, it
making
is because 'cause you're more accessible than, say, like, an Alec
right?
Baldwin or somebody
Right.
else that's more high
But meanwhile,
profile that does him.
like in the jokes, I'm making fun of Biden because that's what Trump would
Yeah.
do. And then therefore I am making fun of Trump. Like, did you not watch the video? And then if they're like, oh, you're a Trumper, fuck you. It's like, why? That's what Trump would say. He would make fun of Sleepy Joe Biden. So it's like you can't win,
You
you
can't
know?
win. Some people are just gonna be
Yeah.
triggered no matter what. Oh, thank you for the super chat, Legion Games. Chrissy, thank you for being my first interview. I'm interviewing Silksy Hot Sauce. Ooh, tomorrow night. I started doing interviews after watching you. See if they'll send you a bottle of a nightmare. Thanks, Legion Games. Um, Bob, thank you so much for
Thank
coming
you.
on. Thank
Thank
you
you
for
for having
doing
me.
impressions, even though you're not feeling so well.
I'm sorry. I
But
feel
you
like
had
I
to, you had to make the people happy. Bob, where can people follow you? I see scrolling below. You're on Instagram, you're on Facebook, you're on Twitter.
Yeah, so I Instagram, I'm trying to build that up. I never really did much with Instagram. So Instagram, I'm on TikTok and Twitter. So by
Okay.
the way, had a lot more on Twitter, and then after that purge, I lost like 5,000 followers.
Oh, yeah, I lost a lot of people in the
I had
purge
like
too.
17 and I had like when the COVID started, I had like 2,000 or 3,000. I got up to like 17,000, which were
Wow.
genuine. They weren't like bots. It was from all
Right,
the
that's
videos I was
great.
doing.
That's
And then all of a
great
sudden, within like 2 nights, I went down. I lost, and I know I'm being suppressed on there. I know it
for sure. Yeah.
because it's like they probably flagged me as, oh, even though I impersonate them, anything that goes out hashtag probably Trump,
Yeah.
they probably just shut it down.
Oh yeah, you're probably shadow banned, but you just keep on. I mean, that's great. Like for a comedian, like you'll get them back.
Yeah.
Just
But
be on.
are you on Getter yet?
I'm on Getter, but it's not like I was just talking about this
I
with
haven't. I
somebody.
want to go. I was going to go on it because I could put my videos on there. Is it
Yeah,
good or
time it can't hurt to be on it, but I wouldn't say get off of other platforms to be
right?
on Getter.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, so we'll see, and, maybe, Trump's social media is gonna be coming out on President's Day on February 21st, so maybe he
What's the
could
name of
use
it going to be?
it's gonna be called Truth Social.
Oh, okay. Right. Right. Right.
Yeah, maybe he could, use you for a commercial.
Exactly.
Bob,
Yeah.
thank you so much for coming
All right.
on.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you, guys in the chat for your questions and comments. Until next time, bye.